I remember when I would build computers like in the early 2000s, I would have to make sure that everything was offline when I built them, and then I would have to go and download all the updates first, then install all the updates, make sure they're all okay before I ever plugged it in the internet, or else instantly everything would be corrupt.
Yeah, you're talking like the Windows XP pre-SP2 days, Code Red, NIMDA. Yeah. Oh
Man,
yeah, no, like yeah, you couldn't if your machine was internet connected without any firewall. Yeah, you had to totally air gap it before you could plug it in. Otherwise, it was owned in seconds.
and then there was
I think
one
that's still
point.
true.
Well, there was one point where I was like, I was always installing like Norton or McAfee or something like that. But then there
Yep,
was one point where I noticed that actually Defender was better.
it is better. Yeah,
And I
it's
just all
better.
of a sudden I just stopped installing other antiviruses. I'm like,
Hmm.
Windows Defender to me is just actually better.
It's actually good. Yeah, I mean, it's. I want to
Do
say
you
it's like
run
one of the
other
surprising
antivirus as well, or
things.
do you just use Defender?
Misuse Defender.
Yeah,
Yep. It's actually it's quietly become like one of the best in class,
I don't even
layers,
know.
and
I don't even know when that was, but I remember all of a sudden I was just like, wait a minute.
it just snuck up on you,
Yeah, I
didn't
was
it?
just like, this is
Yeah.
working fine. Like,
No, and I mean, because I've got a my own personal tenant is a Office 365 Microsoft tenant, that sort of thing. I run Defender at home, you know, right on my Mac runs Defender.
I
Tied
didn't know
up
you
to
could do
my
that.
myself thing. Yeah, yeah, we do. Defender for Mac. It's for enterprises, and it's like again, my personal email is my own personal, is my own business tenant. But yeah, it's quietly become one of the best things out there, and everything else is meh. I mean, I would argue today that Norton and McAfee are more malware than they are anything else these days, or bloatware,
Bloatware, I would say for sure. Yeah,
super bloatware.
yeah.
Yeah, I would uninstall all that nonsense straight away. But yeah, no, I mean, and a part of it's user education. Like, I mean, part of it also we know not to click on the dancing pig, right? And so we got to do more education on that. We could have always done better. I think IT by and large has done a crappy job of blaming the victims, blaming our users. I think IT shops have gotten better at that. If not, they need to. I rail against some parts of my team. I won't name them that sometimes ship customer hostility as a feature, and I think that's a bad thing. I don't think you want to be hostile to your customers because they can choose someone else. And even though we're an internal organization at Microsoft, like they could still fire us. They could still hire someone else to do this work.
Yeah. I mean, I always assume the problem's going to exist between the keyboard and chair, as they say. So you always have to
Yeah.
try to build for that. You always have to try
I
to
mean, we
like,
always deal with knuckleheads, right? We deal with ignorant users. I mean, I lose my patience just like anybody else. We all deal with idiot people, but you gotta try to be okay with them. You get one that you're gonna lose it on, and it's fine. This guy's an idiot and doesn't read anything. Okay, fine. But IT shops, by and large, I think they treat the end users as idiots, and I think people are better than that. I like to think people are better than that, and maybe I'm being an idiot.
well, I would put the onus on the designer because if it's not intuitive
Hmm.
and a standard user who the intended user is supposed to be can't operate your system properly without getting into the into the bad parts or not being able to figure out what's going on, then I think that's
Yeah,
onus is on the UX UI or the developer or if it's
I think
not
all the
working the way it is.
above.
So
I mean, I constantly get frustrated with. I've always been frustrated with Microsoft error codes, right? A hexadecimal code, 0x80080005. That's access denied. I know that. Nobody else knows that.
I don't
Don't
know.
tell me to ask my system administrator. I'm the system administrator. Like, tell me what actually is wrong
Yeah.
here. And like, I'm the guy who needs to know what the hell the problem is. Yeah, we can always do better. You're right. It was UX UI. It is intent.